What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Casual Shenanigans Gaming Podcast, a podcast all about the irreverent love of gaming. I'm one of your hosts, Jeremiah. Tonight, I'm joined by Dave.
What's up, guys?
And Justin from the Dollarwise Gamers.
And I already regret this.
You should. Justin's like trying to move out of the country this week, has lots of important stuff to do, and we're like, hey, buddy, want to give up like an hour and a half away from your family and come hang out with us? And because Justin's a nice guy, he was like, I guess.
It's true. It's true. It's because of who we have to vote for in the elections coming up in November. I was like, I'm leaving the country.
Yeah, it was
I understand.
Just, yeah. I mean, if only Ted Cruz had made it all the way through, you would at least have like a safety fallback. But I mean, as far as things have gotten, it's too late. You got to go.
Yep.
All right.
Personally, I'll be voting for Father Joel in the election. His cult will make America great again.
Ooh, Joel in the office of the president. Oh, those press conferences. They'd be amazing.
The amount of times that I've heard Joel say the phrase, if I were the president, I would make a law. First of all, that's not how it works. But followed by like, people who vape will be put on an island.
Just be hauled out in the street and shot like they should. But Joel could not make it this week. He had prior engagements, and then James also was going to be here, but then he had something come up and he couldn't be here either. So both of them send their love, proverbially. I guess no one actually said that, but they wish they could be here. But if you didn't know, we record the podcast every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, youtube.com/casual shenanigans. So come out and hang out with the chat with a lot of cool people every week if you can. If you can't do that, you can always catch it later on Stitcher, on iTunes, on Google Play Music, on YouTube, all that stuff. And it is pretty awesome. We'd like to think so, at least. So thank you to all of you who are coming out this week. I was out last week. I actually haven't listened to all of last week's episode. I trusted the guys enough to put it up after only listening to the first half, so I need to go back and do the rest of it later. But I'm sure they did a good job. We'll start the show like we always do with thanking our Patreon supporters. So thank you to everybody who supports us on Patreon. It pays for things like the Teamspeak that we're using right now to record because Skype is being terrible. It pays for our website hosting, podcast hosting, everything like that. It is also going to help fund something new we're doing called Casual Shenanigans Originals. So if you want to know what Casual Shenanigans Originals are going to be, go to our YouTube channel and watch the LaCroix ad we put up last week. Because
Against the will of LaCroix.
This podcast is not officially brought to you by LaCroix, but it could be. LaCroix, please sponsor us. You're missing out on a lot of great publicity that we're currently giving you for free, so I don't really know what your incentive is. But anyway, we're going to thank somebody who pledged to us on Patreon. So, Justin, I've realized that you cannot see the name in the doc.
Yeah, I was just thinking, how am I going to get a name?
There's your name.
All right, let me find it. Okay.
So Justin is going to do a voice because Dave and I can't do funny voices.
I'm all serious business. Sorry.
All right, here we go. Well, hello, Jurgen. I just wanted to thank you for pledging to the Casual Shenanigans. This is really great for you to do that. It supports all the things we do. It's super great. Woo-wee!
That was awesome.
You guys just heard the Casual Shenanigans TV ad from 1958. It was a classic ad. Loved by
that
everyone.
was awesome. Thank you, Justin.
That was very good.
All right, now we're going to launch into our main topic where we talk about what we think about No Man's Sky.
Are we? Right now?
No. Thank you, Dave. Now I have to cut this out.
Not for serious, Dave.
I was going to wait like 3 seconds and explain to everybody on stream. So everybody, we're recording the main topic last because it's just me and Justin. So now we're going to pretend like we just finished the main topic. Dave.
Well, so our listeners are supposed to expect that you launch in the main topic and I just shut up completely for the next 45 minutes.
And disappear, yes.
And then come back with no warning for the news.
So I'm leaving all this in at this point. This is how the magic gets made.
I don't think it makes any sense.
It makes sense. Do they film movies in order with one tape? No.
Do people in the movie disappear between takes?
They could if there's plot holes. Okay, Justin, so we're going to talk about what we think about No Man's Sky. And you're on the podcast. James was going to be on here tonight until he couldn't, so he also has played a lot of No Man's Sky. But how much have you played so far, Justin?
Well, I've played probably a little more than 10 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I want to play more, but only 10 hours. I had to pack up my computer, so.
Okay. And then I've played about 7 or 8 hours, and I think James has played maybe a little bit more than that, although his son's been playing it, so part of it is he's been watching it. So we're by no means experts on No Man's Sky, but it is the type of game where it's not like you beat it in the traditional sense. So once you've played a certain amount of hours, you have conceivably seen a decent chunk of what the game has to offer. So we're going to be doing kind of a review, but it's a little more casual than that. There's a lot of very strong opinions on the internet about No Man's Sky, most of them negative at the moment. So we're going to be talking about our thoughts from what we've played so far and kind of how we feel about it so far, and not a definitive, this is what you should think about the game. This isn't that at all. But maybe if you're on the fence about buying this, something we say may give you some advice one way or the other. Who knows? But I want to start it with this news article on VG247. Actually, this news was big enough that it made it onto like the Facebook side curated news feed. So, or at least it did for me.
Oh, who entered the channel? Oh, never mind. They
Really,
left.
Debbie? Really? But anyway, so
She was checking to see if Janet was here to talk.
the PC version of No Man's Sky was a big hit. On release day, according to VG247 and Steam stats, over 212,000 concurrent players on launch day, which made it the biggest launch on Steam so far this year.
Yes.
Now, less than 2 weeks after release, the player numbers are peaking at 19,336. So it's a decline of almost 90%.
Yes.
And from looking at the graphs, I think it's closer to 80 a little bit, because like peak to peak, I believe it's about 80. But anyway, between 80 and 90, the number might vary some, but that's a very big drop. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, it's very, very common for a game's numbers to drop off in the first month. So you get your biggest things like launch week, launch weekend, which is why everybody tries to convince you to pre-order stuff like that. I mean, there's reasons why they do it. They want to get you in on the hype, get you to play it really quickly, and then, especially for a lot of first single-player games, once you've played it, you're not going to come back to it maybe for a while. A lot of people don't. They play it and they're more or less done with it. And it's very, very common for numbers to drop off. But what's more normal is for it to drop off by 50 to 70% in the first month. 80 to 90% in the first 2 weeks is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And Justin, I guess we have no way of knowing, but how many of those people do you think refunded it?
That's an interesting question. I'm sure that kind of data will come out. I feel like there's enough good journalists in the gaming market. I think PC Gamer will probably at some point, maybe down the road, will probably have a little bit of a not an expose per se, but they'll probably have something where they get some of this detail. It's hard to say because I don't think Steam is real. Like they don't give out that information. It's
yeah,
not
they really don't.
Yeah, it's not like a publicly traded company where you can get some of that kind of stuff. So we may never get that information, but I don't know, because I would venture to guess that there's probably a lot less than you would think of people that refunded it.
Probably a lot less, but there were a lot more people than I was expecting talking about doing that online. And a disturbing amount of those people were like immediately pre-ordering Deus Ex or something with the money when they got it back. But as is common when a game launches and has some issues or something, there's the Steam user reviews are overwhelmingly negative, at least for the first few days. And a lot of that is garbage stuff. It's people like complaining, oh, I'm having a problem, or I don't understand what I'm doing, or whatever, and they rate the game a 0. Not
right.
fair at all. And you have to really wait a while for the reviews to balance out, which is why Steam has that newer feature on their user reviews where it weights more heavily recent reviews. So over time, if a game gets improved or gets worse, the reviews will reflect that, and you won't be burdened by poor launch day reviews or really good launch day reviews. So we'll see how it all evens out. But let's set all that aside for now. And let's talk about the setting and the concept of No Man's Sky, the overall idea behind No Man's Sky, as you've played it. How do you like it? How do you like the idea?
So it's basically everything that I feel Hello Games had been saying what the game was going to be. A lot of people were always asking questions like, well, what do you do? What do you do? And I always felt like they were pretty clear that it was all about exploration. It was about discovering new worlds. It was about flying to lots of different solar systems, finding new creatures, new plants, and things like that, and discovering all of that stuff. Now, how they kind of presented it originally, both graphically and in their verbiage, has changed to what it is now. That's definitely for sure. And anybody who I don't think that anybody could blindly say, no, this is exactly what they said. They promised back in 2013 at E3. It's not at all. You know, what they showed was not, I think it was 2013. It was not what they showed. But I think that the general concept is still the same. There is not literally, but veritably an unlimited amount of worlds for you to visit, an unlimited amount of things for you to discover, and an unlimited amount of sandbox for you to play within. The problem is probably that there's not a lot of tools right now within that sandbox of things to do. So you can go over to this area of the sandbox and do this, and you can go over to this area of the sandbox and you can do pretty much the same thing. And yeah, some of the animals look a little different, but you can definitely tell that the game all runs on a system that generates content. I read an article that said if you are thinking about the game as a game, it's not quite that good. But if you think about it as what it is in terms of as a step forward in terms of procedural generation, it's a lot better if you think about it in terms of that.
Mm-hmm. I can see where they're coming from, but I don't think it makes procedural generation look better. If someone wasn't familiar with it and then heard, oh, what's procedural generation, and then played this game, I don't know if they would come away feeling great about procedural generation, because like a lot of the animals you come across in the original videos they showed off,
mm-hmm.
you know, these are like T-Rex looking things and these beautiful flying animals and these lush like beaches and brilliant forests, and you know, it looked really, really unique. And a lot of what you're getting is like weird flying lizard things that, you know, the lot that look kind of similar, or a weird walking lizard-ish thing, or the really infamous GIF that's going around the internet of that. It looks like a T-Rex that's missing a chromosome or two. Like, you're seeing a lot more of that. And I think it's the same thing with the planets. Like, I have hit a couple super lush, beautiful planets. None of them look quite as good as the preview video, but they look good. They look like, ooh, I would take some screenshots of this. It looks nice. Most of what you encounter is a barren wasteland that's like slightly different color than the previous barren wasteland. And some of the lighting and stuff is still cool. It's not like it's just a waste, you know. It's not like it's a total waste to go to, but a lot of them do start to feel the same.
I can understand what you're saying there. I feel like, and obviously there's no way to ever know. One of the things you touched on in your video when you were comparing it on the potato masher is that you couldn't even compare things next to each other because of the fact that it's procedurally generated and there's no way to like be in the right spot, the same spot or anything. So maybe I've just run into more planets like that were more varied. I felt more that every single planet I go to, the things can look different, but the plants, I'm like, oh, that's a plant that gives me this resource. I know that plant from across the screen, that what resource I'm going to get from that.
Well, that's a corner they painted themselves into, because if you need that stuff to fix up and fuel your ship, and the planets are procedurally generated, the only way to guarantee that you're not going to get stranded on a planet and have to throw away your entire save, which I think would almost be kind of cool. But the only way to guarantee you can't do that is you have to be able to get all of the resources you need everywhere. Pretty much. I'm sure there's some rare stuff that you can only get certain places, but everything necessary to survive, you have to be able to get on every planet. And that kind of does reduce it to mining the same basic resources over and over again.
Is sort of the drawback to any of these types of games, where once it becomes that sort of grind. And I'd only put in 10 hours, and I like these kinds of games, and so I can see myself easily putting in 40, 50, 60, potentially 70 more hours or more in this kind of game. I mean, I put 120 plus hours into H1Z1, and that game doesn't have a lot of content in it either.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of like world size and what you can do, No Man's Sky kind of blows H1Z1 out of the water. So I would expect that I'm going to put a lot more into it. But I can already feel that sort of trudge of, shit, I got to go get more plutonium, or I've got to get some carbon, or I've got to manage my inventory so that I can get this one thing that I want to build. And they don't make it simple where you can't just drop stuff on the ground and then pick it back up. If you destroy it in your inventory, it's gone. So it's not like, oh, well, I definitely need to get this thing, but I need to reorganize some of my inventory, but I don't want to drop this thing, but I don't have anything to build right now. So you either have to, cut bait or, whatever. So.
Yeah, it's a little bit problematic because, like, I can definitely see what they were going for. And I think it's one of those games where, a little bit like DayZ or anything Peter Molyneux has ever made, the concept is really, really interesting and very, very daring. And if they could actually make the concept happen, people would be blown away. But the problem with anything like that, and I'm also lumping in things like Elite Dangerous and Star Citizen, the problem with such a lofty concept is 2 years out, 3 years out, 4 years out from release, you don't know if you're going to be able to hit that target. So we said 2 weeks ago on the podcast, we don't think Sean Murray was intentionally being dishonest when he was talking about a lot of the things. And when they made that original trailer showing stuff off, but that original trailer is not gameplay. That is purely a created trailer meant to show stuff off, which every game does. But most other games also directly make every asset after the fact and aren't procedurally generating the assets. So they painted themselves into another corner where the only way to guarantee stuff would actually ever look that good would be to make it by hand. And I'm sure there's a bit of guiding. Obviously the plants a lot of those are created by hand because they look consistent and everything like that. But they would have had to guide it a lot more to make it look like the thing they originally promised, which is why all the stuff in the original videos with like the faction systems and the giant space battles and fleets of trade ships, of where like it looks like you're docking at a space station and there's a bunch of other ships. There's things that imply in the trailer, they don't directly say, but they imply you're flying with like a group of your friends. There's stuff that implies that you're like going to be discovering these new amazing animals that nobody's seen before that look kind of like animals you would recognize. And a lot of that stuff's implied, not directly said, because at the time, I'm sure they were hoping they would get there.
Right.
But I don't think they did. What they got was you can fly around and explore these different systems and you'll find some cool stuff, and you're mostly mining resources to make your ship incrementally better and to give you resources to get to the next system.
Yeah, and the other thing that to keep in mind is that the game did not release broken per se. It maybe didn't release with everything that people expected it to have, but it is a fun game. It is entertaining, and it was made by a crew of 20 people. It is definitely an indie game, and I think a lot of people get lost in the fact, and I'm not like, it's not necessarily an excuse. Yeah, should maybe sometimes people rein in their scope? Yeah, sometimes you need a Sean Murray to like have this beautiful dream for a game, but you also need somebody who can maybe reel them in and go, okay, well, that's a wonderful idea. I love it. And you're the visionary here, but here's the reality of the situation to balance out that vision. But yeah, I mean, for a 20-person team, I think they did a hell of a job. And the one thing that Sean has actually mentioned is that modding is you can do modding for this game, and the community will have an opportunity to make the game be more of what they want that game to be. Not unlike games like Minecraft, where the original vanilla Minecraft does not have a lot of content, but what you can do with it and the capability set it up to be something bigger than it ever was originally intended to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, it's. I don't feel like they were intentionally dishonest, but the game got away from them. The hype got away from them. People were thinking like this is going to be Star Citizen on the PS4. And for the record, we don't even know if Star Citizen's going to be good yet. Star Citizen isn't out, although the 2.5 alpha just released today, which I'm excited to try. But there's finally enough content that I feel like there's a game you can play. But people were excited, like this is going to be a groundbreaking game on the PS4, and the hype train ran away from it. And of course, Hello Games isn't going to say no. Don't be excited about our game. Like nobody's going to say that. And Sony's not going to say, no. This is a small indie game. We're not giving them that much support. No, of course they're going to be supportive and everything else. So the hype train just kind of ran away. People connected a lot of dots where Hello Games didn't specifically say one thing or another. And then there were plenty of things that they implied heavily would be in the game and wasn't. So in the overall gameplay loop, the things I enjoyed where blasting off from a planet and the first time you fly into space is pretty cool. Mm-hmm. And then when you get to like a new star system and you're flying along, and I had this like little realization, I was flying in towards a planet to check for resources. And I was like, well, I don't want to land at night again. And I was like, I'll just fly around the planet to the side that the sun's on. And I flew around it. And as I was flying around it, like your ship orients so the horizon, is ahead of you and the sun is up and everything. It orients as you get closer to the atmosphere. And then I dove down and like you go through the upper edges of the atmosphere and you break through. And like, that's cool. That's been fun almost every time I've done it to see like, what type of planet is this going to be? But then you land and like whatever is around the 200 meters where you land is basically the entire planet. Have you discovered any planets that had significant differences somewhere in the map?
No. I mean, there's some like cave systems and stuff underneath. Mm-hmm. Some of the places that are different, but no, I've never had a situation where I was walking along and I was in a forest area and then suddenly I'm in like a desert kind of biome. The planets seem to be their own biome.
They are, yeah.
And I've walked for 15 or 20 minutes away from my ship because once I got about 10 minutes out, I was like, I'm just going to keep walking until I find something to call my ship because I'm not freaking going to walk back for 10 minutes to get to my ship.
Yeah, so that's a little bit of a disappointment, but it's cool. It's cool when it happens. And then I don't know what you feel about this, but I feel like the space stations are a big wasted opportunity because every alien you meet is just a basic logic puzzle of, do you do nice thing for the alien? How do you make the alien happy? And then they might give you something. Like, it doesn't feel like there's any real interaction with them. And every space station looks exactly the same. And it's pretty much just a trader where you can go dump resources.
Yeah, it feels very thin. It's almost like somebody said, okay, well, we need some sort of a game element interactive for this portion. And then they designed something that was like, early aughts, late 90s RPG, sort of choose your own adventure-esque sort of point and click stuff. Not great. It's definitely like I don't even hardly read most of the stuff that is on there. It's more just, okay, well, which is the nicer thing to do or which is the best material that I have that I can give them because I know they're going to like that the most. It's uncommon. So, there's not. Yeah, I mostly use it for the trade. Granted, I don't have the version 2 Atlas Pass yet, so I don't know what's behind that door. And I think that there's a version 3 Atlas Pass 2 that takes you into another section of the space base, but I think that you just get more resources.
Mm-hmm. So, what do you feel about the graphics? We've covered gameplay a little bit, but being a procedurally generated game, it doesn't really have pixel graphics in the way we're used to them. Everything is made out of voxels instead of polygons. So how do you feel they did?
I don't want to use the word downgrade, but it's definitely not the level that I think people were expecting. But I like the art style. It's not, the graphics aren't amazing. They're not, the textures aren't like beautifully rendered, and where I'm like, wow, I need screen caps of everything. I'm not like pulling a Dave here on some of the textures or anything like that. But I definitely, I like the art style, and I think that it does well. I would prefer an art style that looked a little more realistic,
Mhm.
but I keep reminding myself it was an indie game, and so it's hard for me to get upset when 20 people made it. So
I wouldn't mind the realism. I like the stylized look of it, but some things like the textures are pretty low quality for as demanding as it is. It's a very demanding game to run because of it's procedurally generated, that the CPU has to work really hard, especially when you're flying over a planet's surface, when you're taking off into space, stuff like that. And I don't feel like the visuals match up to how demanding it is, because there's pop-in everywhere when you're flying on a planet, because it's procedural. So much pop-in, very distracting. It happens all the time. When you're in space, asteroids appear like 100 meters in front of you as you're flying. So it makes solar systems feel very empty, because it feels like you're flying this tiny little bubble of content. And everywhere you go, there's stuff, and everywhere you aren't, there isn't anything. And that's just kind of aggravating, because the seams are so clearly there. You see a little pop-in, like every game. GTA 5, one of the most expensive games ever made, one of the biggest games ever made, one of the most polished PC releases for its size ever. And there's still, you get some pop-in when you're flying over a landscape. You expect that. But there's so many unique buildings and unique people and unique things going on down there that's like, well, you're going to have some of that. No Man's Sky doesn't really have any of that variation. It's just all ground on this planet. It mostly looks the same, but it's still popping in like crazy. And in space, all the asteroids and stuff look pretty much the same. They're different sizes, they're slightly different shapes and everything, but they're the same thing. And they're still popping in everywhere. And you can't like look across a solar system and it's completely littered, or like there's a huge asteroid belt or something. There isn't really any of that. It's like it feels like you're in a sphere, and it's here's the sun, here's the couple planets, here's the space station, and then around you in a bubble is the asteroids as you're flying around.
Yeah, I would say the game, I never feel immersed in the game. I always feel like I'm playing a game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I never feel like I'm in the world. I'm just interacting with a game the whole time. Yeah, and it's weird because it doesn't, like, graphic wise, it doesn't put a lot of demand on my GPU. It's all CPU.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not the heaviest GPU wise. Like, I think even on the potato masher on the highest settings, I wasn't getting more than like 70 or 80% usage most of the time at 1080p. So it's not bad, but it's going to hit your computer overall. It's going to hit pretty hard. I know a lot of people are having performance issues. Small note I'll put in there, if you haven't yet, disable the in-game frame rate limiter or knock it all the way up to 60. And if you can only run the game at 30, use something like RivaTuner Statistics Server to manually lock your frame rate. The 30 FPS limiter seems to be pretty buggy, and a lot of people have reported issues with it. So if you have a cheaper computer and you're having that issue, you might want to look into it. But
there might have been an update, because I think the last time I was looking at it, there's multiple choices now, 30, 60, and then I think that there's an unlock now.
There was before. But default was 30. Yes. So most people would hop in and just started playing, and it was at 30, and that's just what it was. So, yeah, I don't know. It is what it is. I don't think the performance is terrible, but also I would have wanted better looking graphics for performance that was that demanding. So it's not like a total miss, but like you said, it's an indie game. DayZ, we played DayZ for years at 15 to 25 FPS. Like, if the game's good, that doesn't matter that much, but I feel like it's a very visible seam in the game that a lot of people notice, along with some other PC weirdness and console weirdness. In the menus, you have to use a little cursor. If you have a controller, you still have to move a cursor back and forth with your joystick, and then when you click on something, you have to hold it down while it completes a little animation. There's no reason to do that. No good reason. Yeah,
especially in an inventory, like in a menu button.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was actually, when I was trying to change frame rates just recently, when I was trying to get it to run on my laptop here, I kept clicking it, and I'm like, why in the hell is it not changing? I know it's got more than one frame rate to choose from. and I had to remind myself, oh yeah, that's right, I have to hold down the button every single time that I have to move the stuff through.
And then you have to restart the game. Anything you change, like you change the resolution,
Correct.
you have to restart the game, which means you have to sit through like depending on your computer, a 30-second to 2 or 3 minute load screen.
And this laptop, it was 2 or 3 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's not great. Especially for things like
No.
resolution, which you don't need to restart the game for, other than I think they just didn't provide for that. Like, there's no technological reason why you should have to.
I will say on my desktop, after the first load for the game probably took a couple of minutes, but at least it felt like that. But anytime I played after that, it couldn't have been more than 10 seconds. 10 seconds. Very quick.
The Masher and the PS4 still took, I feel like, at least a minute and a half each time. But my personal rig did get a bit faster after the first load or two. It seemed like I was hopping in like 20, 25 seconds. So I guess I don't really know. With this game, that's a lot of things. I don't really know if that means anything or not.
Yeah.
But
yeah. What are some of the other main highlights? Because as a Dollarwise gamer, I'll definitely want to talk about the price and whether or not it's considered a Dollarwise deal.
We'll get to the value. I guess we'll get to the value maybe last, because that's something that a lot of people want to talk about. But I'll give them kudos. They say they're going to keep adding stuff and patching stuff into the game, and they've got big plans to continue it. But I'd be a little bit worried if I was them by the huge drop off in players. It's kind of like DayZ. By the time DayZ releases, is anyone still going to be playing it?
Yeah.
And from their perspective, they already got your money. Even if you only got half of a game, they got 100% of your purchase price. So while they say they're going to support it, and they have been pretty good about putting out patches since release, we don't really know how that's going to go long term. So you should take any promises of added features or improvements, you should take with a grain of salt, because you don't really know.
Which is true. However, Hello Games is a new developing company, and every single thing that they're doing with this launch will affect future thoughts about their games. So, and maybe it's because I've already kind of bought into the fanboy thing for Hello Games, but I believe that Sean wants to make a game that people enjoy playing, because my guess is that him and Hello Games want to make other things in the future that people enjoy playing. Mm-hmm. And because of that, I think that they will invest the time and the effort. I mean, he had even mentioned that after the game released, they hired their customer support, which outnumbered their actual development team, after the game released, which makes sense because you need a good customer support. Which if it was more about just get the money and then shutter the doors and everybody made out, with a little bit of money here and there, just it doesn't bode well for a company. I would think that they're gonna. It would be one thing if it was a larger company, more well known, that they might just be like, let's just pack it in. But a smaller company that I feel like wants to make more games will probably kind of.
Well, the way I look at it is the old saying, never assume malice when something can best be explained by incompetence. I don't think their intentions are to cut and run, but given the game's development and the issues they've had, I'm not confident that they are going to be able to do a lot of the things that they're very hastily saying they want to add back into the game and improvements they want to make. I'm just skeptical that they'll be able to do it.
Okay.
Whether they'll get enough money, they'll be able to stay open long enough. Eventually, they have to move on to something else. They can't just keep patching this game forever, because they're not. The sales are going to trickle off. They've got to make new money somewhere else. So, unless this game is a huge runaway hit, which I feel like it probably already got its biggest sales already, and it's not going to have a long tail on it if these Steam numbers are anything to go by. They'll probably get a big bump the first time it's on a Steam sale for $20, $30. When it gets down to $5, it'll always sell a couple thousand copies every sale. But they are going to have to start working on a new game, or at least start doing pre-production on a new game soon. So I honestly don't think they can make all the improvements they say they want to make before they have to switch focus. So I don't think that's their intention, but that's life.
Yeah, or at least they wouldn't be able to do it without charging for it, which they've kind of already said that downloadable content could most likely be something that they charge for. I'm wondering if they're going to hopefully I wonder if their idea is to rely on the community to provide mods that help continue the longevity of the game, as opposed to actually actively supporting it themselves.
Now, mods are interesting because initially they heavily implied it was a multiplayer game. You know, there are a ton of planets, but you can run into other people. A lot of the videos really indicated you were flying with other... If they were AI, they were AI that seemed to heavily cooperate with you. So who knows what the original intention was from those videos, but it was sold as a bit more of a multiplayer game than it seems like we've gotten, at least now. And they've said they want to make that better, but if they're also saying they want to do mods, there's only one version of the game. There's not like a single-player version and a multiplayer version. So if they allow people to mod things, I'm a little bit worried that opens it up to people exploiting the game and just zapping out of nowhere, nuking your ship and leaving. Like, anytime there's a multiplayer game and people figure out how to modify it, inevitably that happens. And especially for a game that has very polarizing opinions about it, there's probably a lot of trolls on the internet who would love nothing more than to be able to wreck the game for other people, unfortunately.
I don't think that this game will ever have multiplayer in the sense that you're actively playing with somebody else. I
don't think so either.
Yeah. I think that my guess is that might have been the vision originally, but the reality is the multiplayer is in the sense that anything you discover, other people can see that somebody else discovered it. And that's basically it.
It's essentially asynchronous multiplayer in a sense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In that case, it's almost a single player game all the time, except for the fact that you might come across something somebody else discovered. So,
but
which I've actually already come across stuff that other people discovered.
Really? Just
actually
named planets and things?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's cool.
Because it actually shows you if you discovered it, it's a specific color in your the little menu, and it's a different color, and it'll say that it was discovered by this other person. I was just going on the Atlas path and came across a solar system that had 2 planets that was discovered by somebody else, and a third planet in that solar system that hadn't been discovered. So I don't know if that person had just recently been there. They had just scooted through there, which is very possible as well. Because I've done that where I just jumped right through a system. I arrived in the system and moved on. I didn't even stay. So, and actually somebody in the chat just was saying that the second system they were in was discovered by another player.
I hadn't run into any that had already been discovered, but I played most of the time I put into the game was in the first couple days. So I guess your odds of running into other people's systems are going up and up and up. So I guess I just missed it. But I think, I've only maybe been to like 6 systems and maybe 15, 16 planets total. I think
I will say one thing.
Yes.
If you go to the menu, the screen to look at like the all of the stars that you can go to, and you pull back, like everybody like wants to do, don't pull back very far, because before you can exit out, it's got to go back to where you are at. So if you like pull back for like 45 seconds or a minute and a half to see all these stars, when you try to exit back out, it's got to zoom back into where you were at. So you got to sit there for like a minute and a half or 45, it doesn't do it like super fast. It was just like, oh my God, seriously? I'm going to have to sit here this whole time.
That's a weird, that seems like a bug that would get fixed. You should just be able to hit like exit and then it just exits, because it's a menu.
It just exits back out.
Yeah, you're not actually
I feel like maybe I chose the wrong thing, but I got stuck in this like, oh shit. I just wanted to do that thing.
No, I only zoomed out for maybe so I could see like 20 or 30 systems on the screen, just looking. I don't know what I was looking for, but look to see like, does one of these look different than the others? Does one of these look like the one I should be going to? I was like, well, I can't really tell that. So one was a slightly different color. The star was. I was like, I'll give this a shot. And the solar system, wasn't a ton different. So I don't really know if that means anything or not. But I think it is. I've gone ahead and spoiled the end game for myself. Do you know how the game ends?
I have no idea. I've actually been actively avoiding it.
So I won't do any spoilers. But I looked up how the game ends, or the end game, and I think it's possible that'll be really deep for some people and it'll be really cool for some people, and they'll really get a lot out of it, especially if they've put 50, 60, 70 hours into the game. But I also feel like it's the type of ending most people, especially if they've had average time with the game, they're going to get to it and go, okay. And they're just never going to play it again. So it's one of those things. I get what they were going for, but I think the scope of the game drowned out the hope that like even 1% of the people who play it are ever going to beat it. So I don't know. I don't really. I don't have much to say about it because I haven't beaten the game, so I don't really know how it goes. But I feel like people are going to be disappointed. The few people I've read online who have hit the core don't seem to be that blown away. Some people are like, it was pretty cool. I enjoyed it. Maybe a little thought-provoking, and most people are just like, yeah, it's okay. I'm done.
Yeah, my expectation once I get my computer back is I'm going to continue down the Atlas core or the Atlas path so that I can get my version up as high as I can so that I can unlock the doors that I want to unlock. And then I'll head straight for the center of the galaxy because there's really not... The rest of the game seems pretty much the same to me. And it's just like jump here, make some new fuel so that I can continue jumping along. And maybe if I find some new stuff to make my ship a little better or my multi-tool a little better, that's cool. But, I'm not going to spend massive amounts of time on one planet.
So finally, as we wrap this up, let's talk about the value of the game. So for anyone who doesn't know, Justin's podcast is the Dollarwise Gamers, and they are very heavily focused on the value for the amount of money you put into it. And you have what you call a Dollarwise deal. What's a Dollarwise deal, Justin?
So Dollarwise deals are considered games that for each dollar you spend on a game, you should get at least an hour's worth of entertainment out of it. And we recognize that it's not a hard, fast rule, but we do tend to like to use it on AAA titles or full price games. So for this game, its price is $60, which means you should get at least 60 hours worth of entertainment out of it for it to be considered a Dollarwise deal. If you're going to get less than that, then the Dollarwise deal price, or when you should purchase it, is going to be at a much lower amount. What's your opinion as to how much this game should be worth?
I feel like I'm not an average enough scenario. Like I'm not in an average enough scenario that my opinion's worth much here because I get a lot of game codes and I play them for 6, 7, 8 hours and I never come back to them. And because of where the content's at with the game, if they make significant changes to it, I could see myself coming back to see it again. But because it's not a game that instantly hooks me and I know I've got a bunch of other games to get to, I've played it for 6, 7, 8, maybe 10 hours. I've seen what the game has to offer. I've seen a bunch of different planets. I've had fun. I have had a decent amount of fun in those first 10 hours. But I know I'm probably not going to come back unless significant stuff changes. So for me, I guess the price on a Steam sale, if it's a game I've always thought, oh, that looks kind of cool, is $5 to $10 is where if I thought a game has looked kind of cool and I've never gotten into it, I'll pick it up. Even if I might only play it for a couple hours, that's around the price where I start to consider, even if I enjoy a couple hours, it's worth checking out at least. $5 is like a no-brainer if it's on a Steam sale. $10 is if I'm interested at all. So for No Man's Sky being a more recent game, if they patch some of the PC-specific weirdness and they maybe just did a little bit of polishing, a couple months of polishing and patching, I could very easily say $20 to $25. I would feel like I would get my money out of it. But that, again, that's kind of me being unique, is I know I'm not going to spend more than a certain amount of time on it. The only games I've put more than 30 hours into in the past couple years have been The Witcher 3, Arma, and GTA. I'm pretty sure that's it. Maybe Dark Souls. Yeah, Dark Souls 2 I did like 45 hours. But like that's it. Everything else is always in that 5 to 15 hour range. So I can't really evaluate games based off the same price. But what about you? Because you are enjoying the game, I think, a little more than me, and you plan on playing it longer than me.
Yeah, so we haven't done an official review for Dollarwise Gamers. And for any of you guys who aren't familiar with it and you check out the podcast, it's currently in a hiatus because of the move. So it will be coming back. But once that all kind of gets itself sorted out. But my expectation is that for me personally, as somebody who was very hyped about the game, who was very interested in the game, $60, I will get a Dollarwise deal out of this game. I will easily put in 60 hours. I expect that that's going to be pretty straightforward. And I'll probably put in 60 hours once I get my computer back, probably within the first 2 months, most likely. So probably by the end of this year, I'll definitely have put in the 60 hours for that game, which is pretty reasonable. For the average person, this game should be regular price $30, and it should be on sale for $15 for a good price, for a good sale, and $20 for a pretty standard sale. So 33% off of a $30 game, 50% off for its good deal, and maybe if they have like a really fantastic deal, $12 or $13. But that's about where it should stand as it stands right now, assuming there's no other downloadable content that comes down for free or anything like that.
DA Ranger in chat has a clarification question about Dollarwise deals. So would Uncharted 4 not be a Dollarwise deal?
I've never actually played Uncharted 4. What's the play? I assume the playtime for that game is somewhere in the range of 8 or 9 hours for the main quest.
8 or 9 hours, very focused, popcorny, pulpy action adventure. So very, very high quality 8 or 9 hours. But unless you play the multiplayer, you will be done in less than 15 hours, guaranteed.
And the average person doesn't necessarily, not the average person, but most people, especially for a game like Uncharted 4, if I'm relatively familiar with it, they play it for that main quest. So yes. 8 or 9 hours. Correct. Yeah, that would not be considered a Dollarwise deal unless you got it on sale for somewhere in the neighborhood of $10. So if you got it on sale for $10 and your goal was to only play the main quest, or you didn't plan on like spending a lot of time and looking if there's secrets or unlockables or anything like that where you play through the game multiple times, then yeah, no, it would not be considered a Dollarwise deal. Now, like I said, it's not a hard, fast rule. It's not a perfect rule. Because the one aspect that it doesn't take into account is how we end our podcast, which is enjoy your existence, is that gaming should be an enjoyable experience. And there are some games that it's more important that what you're spending that money on is that experience, what you're going to get from that game. Gone Home is a good example of a game where the gameplay is 2 or 3 hours long, or even Reflections that Broken Window Studios does, where the gameplay is not very long and the cost for it does not meet that Dollarwise deal, but the experience that you get from it, it's hard to put a value on that. And sometimes playing certain types of games, which I would venture to guess, judging by the things I've read about Uncharted, another one is like Last of Us is another one of those games.
I was gonna say I would pay $60 for The Last of Us every year if there was another Last of Us, like, which I don't want them to cheapen it out. I just mean that the game was
the story
was
right.
minimal. I don't think I put more than 10 hours into it, and I was playing it with my wife. We were sitting together, so we were talking about different things. We went slower through some sections, like we weren't rushing through it. It couldn't have been more than 11 or 12 hours, and absolutely it was worth $60. Even though I will never go back and play that story again. It's the type of thing you want to play once, and for me, I want to play it once and be done. It's not the type of game I want to go back and blaze through because it's a bundle of laughs. It isn't, it's a,
no.
So yeah, so for that, it's not a Dollarwise deal, but the value I got out of it was absolutely worth full price. And if there was another one available right now, I would buy it right now. No questions.
And that's actually one of the things when you had brought up the article earlier, or later, depending on when this falls, I can't remember, about the PlayStation thing being able to be available for stuff on the PC. Mm-hmm. When they said Last of Us was available, that actually interested me because I've wanted to play through that game again, because I played through the whole game in like a week when I was visiting my family in Ohio, and I would like to enjoy it once again, like on my own. And so, yeah, no, I mean, there's something to be said. There's an aspect to a game where it's how much is it worth versus how much time you're going to spend in it versus that experience and what that carries with it and how that affects all sorts of things. And so, yeah, no, it's not a hard, fast rule. It's a very quick and dirty rule that we use, and that we've used for a long time. But I think it helps try to establish a continuity for how much you're spending on a game and whether or not the amount of money you're spending on might be worth it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's some games are outrageously good dollar-wise deals. Like Grand Theft Auto 5 for us has been a fantastic dollar-wise deal. I'm at hundreds and hundreds of hours in Grand Theft Auto. Same thing with Arma. I bought Arma for $30 right when it launched into early access or into alpha. And I've gotten, I don't know, 400 and something hours out of it. And I mean, I've definitely got my money's worth for it. So some things are amazingly good dollar-wise deals and other things aren't, but they're still worth it anyway. So you feel like No Man's Sky falls somewhere into the not a great dollar-wise deal at the moment?
Correct.
Okay.
And unfortunately, it's not going to be on sale for anywhere near $30 anytime soon, and certainly not $15. It'll be at least a year before it's down as low as $15, probably 6 months before it gets close to $30 to $40, I would venture to guess. Unless
the sales just drop off a cliff. Like, you never know. Given how fast players drop. They had an awesome launch, so they got a big influx of money, and they'll be good for a while. But if the sales really go down, we might see some lower prices sooner than that. I mean, it happens. But yeah, I would expect I think on the winter sale, I would not be surprised if we saw it for $30. More likely that we'd see it for 45 or so. But if it's $30 on the winter sale, that means it's going to be like $15 or $20 by the next summer sale.
Yes.
If you're on the fence about it, the best thing you can do is just wait.
Yeah.
The game,
it's never going to hurt you.
Get worse. And if you're on the fence, if you can rent a PS4 copy, awesome. You can try it out. On PC, you have the option now to get refunds on Steam. So for a game like this, you won't see a ton of the game in 2 hours, but you will experience enough of the mechanics. You'll see how it runs on your computer. And if the overall gameplay loop isn't a lot of fun for you, just take it from us, that's not going to change a ton. So if you don't enjoy the first couple hours of exploration, it might be worth getting a refund. I mean, you're not supposed to abuse the system. It's not like a demo thing for you just to try out games. But this is one game where I would say, don't feel bad about trying it and getting the refund. If you were really excited about it, but you're really nervous about all the bad press it's gotten or the bad impressions, the refund system exists. Try it. I mean, I wish there was a better way to do that on PC, but there isn't really. But I wouldn't spend that much money.
And we've said before on our show, just wait. I mean, there will always be a sale. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, if you're not ready to pull the trigger, don't. I mean, there's nobody holding a gun to your head that says that you have to do it. You know, just wait on it. If you need to get a fix on the game, go watch some streamers play it on Twitch. I mean, like, there are people doing that. You know, scroll down to the bottom, go to some of the ones who only have 2 or 3 viewers, because those are the people that are really interested in. Not the like 400 people streamers.
Well, you shouldn't go to theirs because their chats are cancer.
Yes.
400 viewers, not so much. The people with like 10,000 viewers, it's just not that they're garbage, but the streams are garbage at that point if you're trying to have any sort of community. But yeah, there's no excuse for you not seeing what the game is like. And what you're seeing on people's streams and people's Let's Plays is what the game is. So if you like that, if you think it looks enjoyable, you'll probably enjoy this game. I do not recommend that people buy this game. I have enjoyed my time with it for the most part, but it's just too polarizing and it's too, maybe you'll like it, maybe you'll hate it.
Yep.
That I don't feel it's the type of thing where you can say, oh, it's overall a good game. I think it might really hit for you or it might be a huge miss. So I'm not going to recommend that anybody buy it, but you can look it up and you think it looks good, do whatever.
Yeah, 100%.
And now let's get to the news.
News time.
Oh, thank you, Dave. Our first news item
I did something right at least.
I've explained
this is off the rails already.
So many times how this was going to work. Dave, Mr. Law and Order, wants to do it all in the right order. Whatever. All right. Yeah, thank you, General Dave. I see the quivering hand, quivering with all that freedom.
Yeah. Saluting intensified.
All right. Our first news item this week. PlayStation Now is coming to the PC. So if you don't know what PlayStation Now is, and from judging by my Twitter feed this week, there are a lot of people who don't know what PlayStation Now is. Because a lot of things like, does that mean we get the 2 free games every month? Does that mean I can play my PlayStation on my PC, which you can already do? Does that mean, like, just the list goes on and on and on? But PlayStation Now.
Do people on Twitter have not heard of Google or?
Oh, you would be surprised, Justin.
Okay.
You would be surprised, but you probably wouldn't be at this point. I mean, you work in retail, so I'm sure there's no limit to the depths of the stupidity of the questions you've had to field.
It's true. It's true.
Is this Walmart? All right. So PlayStation Now is the service where for, I believe the minimum price is $14 a month. You can stream PlayStation 3 games, and I think there might be some PlayStation 2 games, but you can stream them to your PS4. Currently, that's how the thing works. So if you don't own that game, or since PS4s aren't backwards compatible for PS3 games, you could stream some of these games to your PS4 at 720p and up to 60 FPS. So not a perfect setup and a little bit expensive, but for people who have missed out on some classics, the service actually does work pretty well. So I have personally used it for like 30 minutes just to do a demo, but that's all I've used it for. But I'm guessing neither of you guys have used it.
No.
Okay.
I don't even have a PlayStation, so.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't think it gets used that much because they never talk about it. They never talk about improvements or expansions to the service or anything like that. I'm assuming it has its dedicated little fan base, and that's it. But there are 400 games, over 400 games. So for some things, like if you never played some PS3 classics that aren't on PS4 that haven't been ported over, I guess it's not a bad way to do it. But now you'll be able to play it on your PC, as long as you're running Windows 7, 8.1, or 10, and you have at least a i3 or an AMD A10 processor and 2 gigs or more of RAM and a 5 megabit internet connection. So very, very reasonable. Now, what I think is probably more exciting for most people who are who have a PlayStation and a PC or something, because with that service, you don't need to own a PlayStation of any kind, but you can only play PS3 games. But they're releasing a USB wireless adapter for the DualShock 4. So for $25, it looks like a USB key with a PlayStation logo on it, and it will be officially give you wireless DualShock 4 support for your PC. Because so far, people are using like their own Bluetooth adapters or using USB cables, stuff like that.
Right.
I think $25 is a little expensive, and the adapter is really big. Because you can make a Bluetooth adapter that's like the size of your thumbnail, so I'm not really sure why this one is this big, but for whatever reason, it enables every feature of the controller as long as the game supports it. So you can even use the headset jack, which I don't know if any current things do support, any current Bluetooth adapters or homebrew drivers. So that actually is pretty cool. I think that's probably more exciting for most people who are into PlayStation and also have a computer. Because I might do that. My Xbox 360 controller has been faithful for like the past 8 or 9 years, and it's starting to wear down a little bit. And after the whole riffraff with the Windows 10 and Xbox One controllers, like what was it doing, Dave? Was it bricking people's stuff, or was it?
The driver was corrupting, causing blue screen lockups.
Cool.
That must not been for everybody.
It wasn't for everybody, no.
Yeah, it was like a specific scenario where you had to have upgraded from 8.1 to 10, and you had to be on a certain amount of the updates, and like it wasn't a small amount though. I saw like several thousand posts about it. Like a Google search on that particular driver update had a lot of angry people.
Which really, like, I don't know, it just made me nervous a little bit because I've never had to worry about my Xbox 360 controller working. I just plug it in and it always works flawlessly. So I've been a little gun shy about hooking up the Xbox One controller. But anyway, the other bit of PlayStation news is that PlayStation Plus membership prices are going up. Not in the UK. So Justin, if you do get a PlayStation, I guess you're already paying a lot of money and you'll be fine. But the prices are going up to $60 from $50 if you buy it 1 year at a time. And the 3-month membership is going up from $18 to $25. And the 1-month membership is staying at $10. The pricing goes into effect on September 22nd. They're not making any changes to the services, and this is the first announced price change in North America since the service launched in 2010. What do you guys think about this?
Oh, was Dave waiting for me? I was waiting for Dave.
I was just collecting my thoughts because I was thinking back to March when I re-upped I think I got it for like $44, and I was just like, Joel, this is for you. I'm going to play Dark Souls little bit of Rocket League, and like I really can't think of whatever else I use my PS4 online for. Like it's not. Oh, I mean Star Wars, obviously, especially Star Wars. But man, like I already feel like I'm not getting my money's worth. The free games I just stopped carrying months ago.
There are a couple cool ones. Every couple months there'll be one cool one, but that's not.
I wait for Joel or John to tell me to go look. I don't look myself anymore.
Yeah.
And man, the voice quality and all, the download speed has increased to almost normal speed, so that's exciting. My hardwired LAN connection, it's almost using it now. Almost. For a long time, I got the same speeds on Wi-Fi as I did over a gigabit home LAN network. It's just, yeah, I don't think they have anything to raise prices over.
I mean, eventually the price has to go up. That's just economics. Like they can't keep it at the same price forever. Even Netflix raises their prices. But Netflix is continuously improving, and I honestly just don't get the feeling like PlayStation Plus has gotten that much better. The voice quality, like you said, sorry, go ahead, Justin.
I was gonna say I don't feel like Xbox Live hasn't increased in price at all. And I mean I've been doing Xbox Live for years, but I've had an Xbox for years. PlayStation I haven't had since PlayStation 2, so I can't even speak to it to a certain extent. But Xbox Live, I feel like their prices have not increased, or at the very least, whenever I purchase it, I can't believe I spend more than $40. I always buy them on sale.
Yeah, it's right at like $40, which you have been able to find PlayStation Plus for $40 too. But yeah, I agree. I think Xbox Live has been mostly the same price for a long time. I think if they increase the price to like $53 or something, this would be a non-story. But the $10 jump is actually, I mean, that's like a 20% increase. Which
is there a reason? Like, did they say we're doing this in order to bring, like, we're turning like 500 servers online across the country or something?
No, on the PlayStation blog, what they said was, quote, "This marks the first time that PS Plus membership prices will increase in the US and Canada since the launch of the service in 2010. The new pricing reflects the current market conditions while enabling us to continue providing exceptional value to our members." Now, Joel's not here to defend the PlayStation, so being as fair as I can, a lot of people really like the free games, and that's cool. But as far as exceptional value, when they announced the PS4, they said they had to start requiring PlayStation Plus for you to play online because they needed to make the service better. And I was totally on board with that because the service wasn't great. But the voice quality is still garbage. If you think the voice quality is good, you're a very, very lucky minority of people, or you haven't heard like TeamSpeak. But the voice quality is not good. The chat and party options are very lackluster. This is the biggest thing I feel like I miss when I go into a console is, like in TeamSpeak, we have 15 different lobbies and different rooms, and you can be in all, we have permissions for all that. And on PlayStation, all we can do is everybody join into the same thing. And then like, it's very, very mediocre for 2016. Like on the PS3, it was pretty normal. Like it felt like, okay, well, this is the best we can do. But I do not feel like they've made that any better. The download speeds have gotten a little bit better. So I guess they have made some improvements across the board, but I don't know. I don't really get why they need to put it up $10. I think if they did it like, they could do it $1 every single year, and I don't think anyone would complain. That'd just be how it goes. But
not impressed with it for the service.
Since I do have it for some of the games that I do, and mostly for making Potato Masher videos, I went ahead and bought 2 years at the old price. So I wasn't really looking to shell out $100 for PlayStation Plus, but now I don't have to think about it for a while. And people have made it the point, and it is fair, that if you can't afford $10 extra per year, you probably can't afford to be gaming on it anyway. Like if that really is a make it or break it thing. So I completely agree as far as that goes, but I just don't see that they're providing extra value.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think that it's the $10 per se. I think it's just that they've done a very poor job of establishing the value for what that $10 is getting you. I mean, it's one thing to say we're raising it by $10 in order to keep up with the market, and it's another thing to say we're raising it by $10 to keep up with the market, and here's some other features that we're adding in order to kind of justify this.
Everybody agrees. Even the staunchest PlayStation supporters agree that the quality of the PlayStation Plus games has gone down over the past year. The quality of what they're offering every month. That has gotten worse. But there's all kinds of things they could do, and plenty of people have suggested. Like they could give you 1 free PlayStation Now credit each month. You know, something to entice you to try one of their other services. They could give you a couple channels on their PlayStation View service, which I hear is really good. I don't watch enough TV that that's not something I'm interested in. But I hear that's a good service. They could give you like a little incentive to check that out. There's plenty of things they could do, and there's plenty of things Sony owns that they could like give you a free movie rental each month. Something just to make it seem like, oh wow, it doesn't cost them any extra money, but it makes the service seem like, wow, you get all this cool stuff. And because that used to be the case. You got like instant access to a 10 game collection of like AAA titles and some indies and stuff. And now it's kind of swung over to almost entirely indies. So anyway, Dave, what do you got for us?
Some cool modding news for one of my favorite games from last year, City Skylines. Now that some of the bigger DLCs are out from Paradox, the main developer, they are going to do some community content packs, which are going to be some of their most well-known community modders are going to get paid to make a content pack. And you can expect like a professional level of polish and updates and that sort of thing. And for $5, the first one is going to be the Art Deco pack. And I love history, and actually Art Deco is one of my favorite architectural styles. It's one of the most interesting in my opinion. And it wasn't around for very long. Like it's much more rare than other styles. So yeah, I'm all in for this pack. And I actually stopped playing City Skylines just because my mod collection had gotten way out of control because I was downloading like building collections with like 5,000 mods in one. And it was updating like a gig a day of like everything was conflicting. Like it was a mess. So I might wipe my mods out, grab this official content pack, and make like a themed city. I've kind of been missing the game. A very cool way to introduce some not quite paid modding. I mean, he's a modder, but he's going to be paid basically as a freelance contractor for this job. But a bit of cool community involvement.
Cool. And it's interesting that people don't seem to be throwing a giant fit about this time. I don't know what the major differences are between this and Skyrim mods, but...
Well, I think one of the biggest ones is that it's been announced way ahead of time. It didn't just go live all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And because it's just one person for now, it's like carefully curated. When the Skyrim mods went live, it's, hey guys, paid mods are live, free for all. And then everyone's like, hey, I'm going to steal me some mods for some quick cash. And then like it was complete anarchy within seconds. Like, hey guys, here's a collection of the top 20 Skyrim mods. Pay me $5 for putting it together for you. It's like you can't do that. It was not well planned at all. Like for Valve, who's usually so slow to do things, it just came out of nowhere and it was not well planned.
Yeah. I guess we don't need to dredge up that whole old conversation, but I think this is an awesome step, and I hope this kind of becomes a little more normalized so that some of these awesome modders could get paid for their work. Maybe Fallout, maybe some Fallout modders. Maybe they made a bridge mod in 20 minutes. Just do a test and made a bridge mod that people really
dude,
like
I spent months researching that bridge. Like the pallets are placed according to how they would have actually built them in the apocalypse in the Boston area, brick by brick.
Do you want to
pallet by pallet?
Do you want to read that certain comment this week? Do you want to read that one?
No, I'll be nice.
Okay.
No comment of the week.
I love that.
I have a comment of the week this week, and
okay.
And Dave probably knows which one it is. All right, our next news item. Dave, did you put this one in here about the Division?
Yes, that one is mine. If you want to skip to it,
sure. Yeah, let's do it because the other one's going to go with the main topic.
Yeah, this one's brief. Massive Entertainment and Ubisoft have announced that they are delaying I don't think it's the last DLC, but the next DLC for the Division, because they want to work on a big patch planned for October, patch 1.4, which was originally supposed to be launched alongside that next DLC, which is, it's the Survival DLC. I was actually interested in that one. What they're going to do is turn patch 1.4 into a complete redo of the gameplay after level 30, basically. So it means nothing for us right now, but I think everyone who's complained about the game has said, it's the end game that's the main issue. Well, like if you enjoy the game, it's
not so much the issue as like the game changes. It goes from being a cover-based gear shooter to being something entirely different once you hit level 30, and like all the stuff they've taught you to do is no longer as relevant, and you have to learn how to play it in a different way, and that different way isn't that great. So it's not just that the game gets bad, or not necessarily that it's bad. It's just that they change it, and it seems like the end game isn't as focused as we were led to believe.
Exactly. Yeah. So the last company to do this didn't EA delay a Battlefield 4 DLC or two for a few months after it came out?
There's so much happened when that game released.
Ooh,
I don't
okay.
remember.
It's all coming back to me now.
Okay.
They announced Premium, started selling Premium, and said, "Hey guys, we're delaying the first DLC." It was the first DLC for it was like 2 or 3 months because the game was broken.
Right.
If I'm remembering that correctly.
That sounds right.
That sounds right. Yeah. So here we are again. You know who didn't delay anything because their game was broken? CD Projekt Red. They delayed things because they wanted to make them better. And they did.
Hey, The Witcher 3 is now in PC Gamers, in their top 100 PC games. It now has the top spot, Witcher 3. Respect.
And there's Geralt in his bathtub right there.
I'm guessing Half-Life 2 and BioShock are right underneath it still. But our last news item tonight is Battlefield 1. The beta, open beta, right, Dave, or is it open alpha? It's open beta.
Open beta.
Open beta is...
The game actually comes out, I didn't realize, it comes out on the 21st of October. I thought it was like early November.
Oh, that's cool. So yeah,
I feel sorry for Civilization 6.
You think there's that much overlap?
No, just kidding.
But yeah, so it comes out, the open beta starting soon. They're starting to hawk the premium pass for the game, as EA is wont to do. If you buy the premium pass, even if the game is broken, you'll still get all the DLC eventually once it's released, unless you bought Hardline. Has that gun bench come out yet, Dave?
I honestly don't know.
Can you Google that? I'm just curious. It's not relevant to what we're talking about now.
Okay, yeah,
but
yeah.
Actually, it's a little bit
Keep
relevant.
going.
So anyway, you can, of course, pay a truly obscene amount of money and get the Ultimate Edition, which gets you 7-day early access to a free map drop, which you get if you pre-order the Standard Edition or the Deluxe Edition. So whatever. But the Ultimate Edition gets you 5 battle packs, 3 vehicle skins, a Lawrence of Arabia pack, a Red Baron pack, early access, start playing 3 days before release, and a pre-order bonus of a Hellfighter pack, and the Premium Pass, and I believe that's like $130.
Yeah.
Now, if you pre-order the Standard Edition for $60, you get 7-day early access to a free map drop and the Hellfighter pack. Now, the one I want to talk about is the Deluxe Edition, or as they call it on Origin, the Early Enlister Deluxe Edition.
Fight for your virtual country, guys. They need you.
Yeah, not if you're French, because they weren't in the war. If you believe in France, you should get the Ultimate Edition. But anyway, no, the Deluxe Edition has the Red Baron pack and the Lawrence of Arabia pack and 3 vehicle skins and 5 battle packs. Cosmetic stuff, little cosmetic add-ons like many games do if you pre-order. But it has 3 days early access. Start playing 3 days before release. And the game is $80. So you're paying $20 more to play 3 days early. And if you've been around for some of the previous Battlefield releases, the first couple days are normally when things are the worst. So there's no guarantee that like 3 days of smooth sailing. No, it's going to be 3 days of every content creator trying to cram all of the data through the pipe.
Play the objective. I'm trying to record you, laggy foreigners.
Now, what do you
get those UKers off of our servers?
I don't like this, but before I complain about it, because I talk too much, what do you guys think?
I think that games need to get away from the whole, like, if you pay this, you get an early access, like access the game, the actual game, not like a beta access, but the game releases earlier for you. It just, it's not a world I want to live in.
The weapon skin stuff, that's been around forever, and I'm okay with it on like a limited scale because they're trying to lock in pre-orders. Like Empire Total War back in 2009, like if you pre-ordered, you got like some unique units for like your soldiers if you had bases in America. It was like, they have like a unique flag on their unit and some like unique colored uniforms. Like it wasn't anything that neat, but it was like $5 or $10 extra, and you got like a handful of unique skins. Like, fine. Now, for Battlefield 1, they're stacking it up with 3 different like skin packs, which include different weapons, which is just going to make it harder to balance weapons because now you have 4 exclusive weapons, which I'm sure they're going to sell in the individual packs for like $5 later on. But for now, you've got additional weapons to balance. You've got the unique skins that I don't have a problem with, but now they're $10 for all of them. And essentially, you're going to be paying $10 for not early access to anything. You're paying $10 for the privilege of EA not delaying the game for 3 days for you.
Yep.
This is not early access. This is an artificial delay. It means literally nothing. The game is a digital product and is finished. People are playing it. They're holding the gates back to let the pre-orders feel special. It's completely artificial. And that for like the $5 or $10 part of that extra $20, whatever you want to say it is divided out, is just stupid. And yeah.
And
it's almost like if Disney was like, we'll let you into the park an hour early for an extra $15.
right.
Like for your
It's
ticket.
not an hour early. You're just penalizing everyone else for not paying $15 extra by making them wait.
Disney says, yeah, you come pay an extra $20, you get in the park early. You get there at 9 o'clock when the park opens, they let you in. For everyone else, like, okay, guys, for you guys, the park now opens at 10. Like, well, the sign says 9. Like, people are going in. Like, oh, well, they're early access. Like, but there's not early. Like, it's still 9 o'clock. Like, we just don't get to go in until 10. Like,
the park will still run.
Yeah,
There's some people
working fine.
who will probably disagree with that analogy. So let me just give you kind of a different one. It'd be different if they said this early enlister edition. We're only selling 10,000 of them, and we're going to send you like dog tags with your gamer tag on them, because that would be an actual like limited edition, like every game has.
Yeah.
Like, as stupid as I think a lot of them are, sure, you want a 3/4 scale Master Chief helmet that looks like you can put it on, but you can't, for an extra $80. Fine. Like, whatever. It's a collectible. Gamers love collectibles. Buy whatever you want. And I would understand that, because that's like you get to be part of an exclusive club. But there are unlimited, like, they're selling as many of these as they can. So it really isn't exclusive at all. It's then the gall of them on origin.com, when they have the 3 versions compared, there's a little banner above the Ultimate Edition, the $130 one, that says most popular. This one. If you're not sure which one to buy, get the $130 one.
I'm sure that's actually true. I'm sure people, like, look at Steam pre-orders. Like, after No Man's Sky, bombed and had terrible reviews, what is everyone doing? Like, review-wise, at least. Everyone's immediately pre-ordering, what comes out Tuesday? I got to get the order in quick. Like, I guarantee you, people are paying like the $130 for the top version of Battlefield 1.
I doubt more of them than the regular. I doubt more people are buying that than the regular edition.
On PC, on Origin, it might be the premium
Maybe,
edition.
that's true. Maybe, but I'm looking at the page, and no, that little banner is baked into the page. It's part of the design. That's not like oops, this one's more popular now. Nuh-uh. It's always going to be Ultimate Edition, which, if we haven't said it before, let's say it again. If you are seriously considering spending $130 for an unreleased Battlefield game, given their track record for the last couple years, that is stupid. Don't do that.
Because the first DLC is not coming out until the end of March. Why would you buy that in August?
Right, you can just buy the premium edition later. And Dave and I are saying that as we can write off anything we buy for Battlefield. We can write that off on our taxes because we can make money off of it for YouTube. So we have even more incentive to not care about it because it's not going to cost us that full amount. And we think it's stupid. And we like Battlefield. Dave and I love Battlefield. Dave and I are currently friends because we started playing Battlefield again after we got out of college.
We were the rival.
Yeah, exactly. And if you don't know what that is, go look long time ago on our channel. Long time ago. 500 videos ago. But we love Battlefield as a whole. Last year or two hasn't been quite as smooth.
Let's just not talk about it.
But we're telling you, this is stupid. It's your money. You can spend it however you want, but you shouldn't.
Yeah, just on the note of premium, I was talking about it on our group chat earlier. I think it was yesterday. But a good game with good DLC is a good thing.
Right.
I was very happy that The Witcher had DLCs. Most of the single player games that I enjoy, like Dishonored, I loved the DLCs for that too. Like, that was well worth the season pass money. So yeah, I don't have a problem with Battlefield Premium. Other than the fact that, it's going to split the community again. Hopefully, if the game's really good, the premium community will be larger this time. Like it was back in 3. Like, in 3, almost everyone had Battlefield Premium. Like, it was pretty consistent. So, yeah, my only problems are, I hope we get some free content updates to keep the community, kind of together more. And then, I wish they would stop announcing it before the game comes out, where you can buy it in August. Like, I know it's going to be there. Everyone knows it's going to be there. It seems, I don't know why they're do it so early. And finally, just on a historical note, the fact that France is not going to be a multiplayer faction until one of the DLCs in World War I, where France was where most of the war took place, defending their nation. Like, that's not acceptable. I don't know if that's because of, they said, well, we want to give them proper justice. Well, why would you pick the Americans over the French?
No, if that was their concern, they would hold the game until it was done, not release it when they had a couple factions ready to go.
And, maybe because they decided to do things like the like Lawrence of Arabia stuff for single player, it made more sense to do like the Ottoman Empire or something,
right?
Because they already had assets there. But man, France as a DLC, like, that just really rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Now it's time for What Are You Playing This Week, part of the podcast where we talk about what we're playing this week. Justin, why don't you go first, our guest?
Oh, jeez.
I realize you're moving out of the country, but what have you been playing this week?
I've actually been watching the Olympics a lot. My wife's a big Olympics fan, so we've been doing that. My laptop is not built for gaming. It's built to record the podcast, our podcast that we do, and that's pretty much it. So I've played a little bit of Long Dark, but it runs at like 19, 20 frames per second, so that's not great. I've tried No Man's Sky on the lowest freaking settings, and it's not good at all in the teams. So I don't play a lot. I tend to play... I installed Bridge Constructor because that's about on par with what this computer can handle. And then I'll probably play a lot of Civilizations because it can handle turn-based games okay. So that'll be some of the stuff I'll be doing for the next 6 to 8 weeks as I wait for my desktop to show up.
Wait, it's going to be 6 to 8 weeks?
Yeah, 6 to 8 weeks.
Are you going to have good internet access?
Yes. Yeah, should have decent internet access.
All right, talk to me after the podcast.
Now, Justin, do they put your computer on like a fishing boat that's currently trawling its way across the Atlantic?
It is pretty much. That is its own sort of thing. Like, so there is lots of ways for you to ship things overseas, and the most economical way is they show up at your house. You have to pack it yourself. They show up at your house. They itemize your boxes, and they throw it on a truck, and then they ship it to a warehouse that's on the coast, and then they throw it on a pallet, and they wrap it up, and they put it into a big cargo container, throw it on a shipping in a shipping crate on a boat, and they sail it across, and then on the other side in the UK they'll put it onto a lorry and deliver it to your apartment or your flat. It was, just to kind of put it in perspective, it was about $1,200 to ship. We did 12 total boxes, and the boxes were about 5 cubic feet each. So those are pretty big boxes. And in those boxes were
5 cubic feet or 5 by 5 by 5?
No, 5 cubic feet. So yeah. So I mean, it's not 5 by 5 by 5. That would be huge.
Oh, okay. Okay.
No, it was 5 cubic feet is how big the boxes are.
All right.
It's like the third largest size box you can get at Home Depot.
Okay, I know what size you're talking about then.
There you go. So we packed them very well. We took our time. Like, the kids picked out like their plush, their stuffed animals, our bedding, clothes that we don't need immediately, that kind of stuff, and packed it in around stuff. My 4K monitor, I still had the box from, so I just repacked it in that box. But the computer, I pulled out my graphics card and hard drive, thanks to you and Dave for the suggestions for that type of stuff, and shipped those things off. And yeah, 6 to 8 weeks.
So how do you get the rest of your stuff there, or is that all the stuff you're taking except for
That's
your
all the
carry-ons?
stuff we're really taking. Yeah, we're not taking any of our furniture or anything like that. Like, the rest of the stuff will just be the clothes and some other stuff that we can kind of put into, like, we're taking like a handful of silverware and stuff because we have nothing over there. So when we get there, actually one of the first things we're going to be doing will be one of our first days in town. We'll be going to a couple of places because it's the UK, which is weird for us in the United States. They have like next day delivery for all sorts of stuff because it's such a small country in comparison to our country.
True.
Yeah. And so that's kind of cool. So basically, like, we need beds, we need couches. We're not worried about a TV because I have a 27-inch monitor that can double as a TV for now. And then I can just use my 4K for gaming. Yeah, so our first like week there will be just getting stuff so we can kind of live. And then all of our other stuff, like the stuff we care about, our electronics and most of the stuff that was shippable,
right,
will be arriving hopefully in a month or so.
Nice.
So not a lot of gaming, unfortunately.
Dave, what about you?
For gaming this week?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Not a whole lot, honestly, because I've been building furniture in the office a lot. The cabinet that I ordered from Walmart was higher quality than I expected, but when they said it was 160 pounds flat packed, they were not kidding. And it took me 3 nights of like a couple hours each night to put it all together. And then I had it like against the wall. I'm like, hey, this is a nice piece of furniture. And I rotated it 90 degrees and it goes like shift. And like now the doors like scrape when they close. I put shims under it, but the corner, just like the way I have it, it's just not level. It won't stay there for more than a month or so. So I don't care at this point. But yeah, furniture is taking up most of my spare time. Played Arma Monday. Tons of fun with the new mod pack.
We had 11 people.
11 people out. Yeah. Oh, Justin, it was. We had double medics, we had sniper and marksman support, and with the new sound pack, and it was like getting dark in the mission. The tracers were flying. You heard Ben's rifle booming from the mountains.
I want to chip in my little story there. So we had 2 different squads, and the squad that Dave was in was up on a hill towards the end. On a hill, probably, I don't know, half a click away, Dave.
Yeah.
And we had just liberated a little compound, and so my team was heading back to meet up with Team 2, and then we were going to exfiltrate. And there started to be some enemies coming in behind us, like 200, 300 meters away, not close enough that we're in any real danger, but we need to get out of there. And so we start jogging. Well, the squad Dave's in starts opening up. Steven was leading them. They start opening up from a distance. And
across the valley.
Across the valley, over our heads, onto the enemy behind us. So we're running, and it's nighttime, and you just hear all the cracks going over our heads, and then it's tracers, and it's just like streams of tracers flying over our heads, hitting the valley behind us. It was really cool. It was super cool.
And that was a really neat moment, too, because with the AI pack that we use, it had gotten basically completely dark by that point, and most of our enemies were insurgents without night vision. Like a few of their squad leaders had like a little like monocular night vision thing, but they were having a hard time figuring out where Jeremiah's squad had gone once they left the compound. But we could see them in our thermal and night vision scopes that they were coming out of the mountains down into the valley towards the compound, and they were hunting Jeremiah's squad as they fell back. So Steven just gave the order, like, guys, bipods down, put those belts of ammo over their heads, keep them covered. And it was so funny to, like, just watch all these enemy squads, like, panicking, trying to figure out, like, where's the squad we were looking for? Where's all this tracer fire coming from? And we're just like, that's how we operate. Yeah, it was just a really well-organized mission. That was a lot of fun.
Oh, man.
Outside of that, though, just a little bit of the usual staples, some Fallout and some Witcher. Trying to get things wrapped up with... for both Witcher and Fallout, Far Harbor, and Blood and Wine, because Nuka-Cola comes out for Fallout next Tuesday, as well as the Battlefield 1 beta, and I did not expect it would take me this long to beat Far Harbor.
Well, it's because of the frame rate. You thought you'd be done twice as fast as you are, but...
Ooh! I'm sorry, Jeremiah, a 1080 is just not enough to maintain 30 FPS.
It is, though, isn't it? Oh, are you kidding me?
So
wow.
the weird part about Far Harbor is, first of all, it looks fantastic. Second of all, the performance makes 0 sense. I've actually tried putting the game on lowest settings. I will go from 18% card usage to like 99, and nothing visually has changed. I can tell. Like sometimes fog makes it worse, but it's not like the PS4 where it's like, oh, the fog's here. There goes my frame rate. Now it's 13. On PC with my usual just ultra settings basically, and like I think HBAO. I can go from 60 locked to I go into an interior, it stutters for a second, and then I'm at like 28 for a minute or two, and then it's back to 60, just boom. Like it makes 0 sense. But yeah, that's what I've been playing this week. Whatever I can squeeze out of the frame rate generator for Far Harbor.
I've been playing Deus Ex: Mankind Divided. I'm only about an hour and a half in because I've played that on 3 platforms. I played it on my computer when it first came out, and then I played it on the PS4, and then I played it on the Potato Basher to do recording. So, I guess I'm about 2 hours in on each platform, but I am enjoying it so far. We are going to have a review of that probably in the next week or two.
Oh man,
depending on when people are available. Sorry, Dave. Why are you excited to play it?
I love the first game. I beat it. I loved it. I mean, I guess that's like the 3rd or 4th game technically.
It's not. It's not super long. You could get pretty far into it in the next week or two. You just borrow it off my account.
Oh,
yeah.
Now you have my attention.
Just Steam Family Share. No big deal.
But no, dude, this week is so busy.
Yeah. Well, if you can. So
if we can delay like one more week for the review, we'll talk.
Okay. I mean, it's not happening right this minute.
Yeah.
Or anything. But yeah, Deus Ex: Mankind Divided. I'm enjoying it so far. I'm actually enjoying the beginning of this more than the beginning of the first one of Human Revolution. Not the first one, but Human Revolution. And I like that they've removed the P filter. Everything is not quite as yellow as it used to be. There's still that nice golden hues and everything, but it's a bit more neutral.
Okay, nice.
And I'm liking all the changes they made. You can actually switch the control scheme over to regular FPS controls, except there's so many gadgets and things that the game uses like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, F1, F2, F3, F4, and all of the keys that are around QWERTY. I actually considered plugging in my controller just so I could use regular FPS controls because it's a lot of stuff to remember.
Oh, man.
But yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. And man, at 4K, parts of that game look unreal. Parts of it look just fine.
Really?
But oh my goodness, it looks good. It's one of those games that has features that I don't think you're even supposed to max it out now. It's one of those games where you're
future-proofed.
3 years from now, you'll be able to play it at 4K 60 FPS. But at 4K on high settings, not the highest settings, but one step down, I'm barely sustaining 30 FPS. Like, and maxed out, I can play it at 1440p at 30 FPS. I can't play max out at 60 at 1440p.
Ooh.
Like, it is a demanding game. Some stuff like the volumetric lighting, brutal on your performance, but it looks really, really good. Really good looking game. And then I've been playing some Dying Light, also a really good looking game. Steven and Joel have told me about it for a while, but I just started to get into it, and I've been playing a little bit with Steven and a little bit with Tyler. So interestingly, Dave and Justin, Dying Light, tell me if this sounds familiar. Dying Light is an open world game where there's been a zombie outbreak, or they call them virals, but whatever. There's been a zombie outbreak.
Really?
And you don't know much about your story, but you've been dropped in as part of a secret organization to rectify the problem by doing fetch quests and leveling your gear up and getting better stuff. Now, does this sound like a game you might have heard before?
Yes.
Now,
like every.
Well, I say like The Division. It's suspiciously similar sounding to The Division. Although I'm enjoying it actually a bit more so far. It's very fetch questy. It's like Far Cry. It's not.
Yeah, it was made by the same developer who did Dead Island, and Dead Island, basically the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
Was a lot of fun. I mean, they did a lot of things right, I think, in Dead Island, and I've seen some of Dying Light, and I've been impressed. I haven't gotten it for my PC.
Mm-hmm. I think it's good so far. It's very shallow. I mean, it is what it is. It's not supposed to be a super deep game, but it's fun. The melee is great. The parkour is surprisingly good. It takes a little while to get used to, but it's like I'm okay comfortable with it now. The zombies are legitimately scary because you're very, very underpowered at the beginning, and any of the zombies can mess you up pretty bad if you're not paying attention. So, and there's like high-powered zombies and AI and stuff all over the map, and it's not a huge map, which I also like because I don't really. The trend in open world games is to make them all as big as humanly possible. And I'm not really into that for most games because I don't think it makes them better. And for this game, I feel like the map size is pretty perfect because it's small enough that I'm seeing areas I recognize even after only like 3 or 4 hours of gameplay. I'm recognizing certain areas, like you can learn them and get used to them. But it's big enough that there's new stuff to see all the time. So I think it's pretty cool.
Just be like me and memorize all game maps instantly.
Yes.
In their massive sizes.
I should. Mm-hmm. It is now mail time.
No.
All right.
Oh,
nothing.
I was like, does somebody need to? Mail time.
Man, Justin's really good at these voices. Wish we'd known this earlier. All right,
Welcome, new Joel.
So if you remember 2 weeks
No.
ago, we asked people to write in if there was a game that they could acknowledge was probably really good, but they could just never get into, and they decided that it wasn't for them.
Ooh.
Garrett wrote in and said, "Hey guys, I wanted to write in as someone who is not the biggest fan of The Witcher 3. Now, I want to say first that the game itself deserves all the awards and praise that it got. I love CDPR and their attention to detail and quality of their product. With that out of the way, on to the sadness.
Oh.
I didn't like the combat. I found it to be very sluggish and awkward for me as a player to use. The magic wheel seemed very in the way and didn't make anything easier for me. The weapon movements were very stiff, and it just made the game a bear to play for me personally. Also, the difficulty spikes as you progress were very steep. I would go from clearing out a cave with no problem in the first part of a quest to dying from one drowner later in the same quest. But never did it occur to me that the game I was playing was in any way bad. The story, graphics, musical score, lore, the way the world felt, and the way I felt when I was making critical decisions as Geralt almost can't be replicated. That's how much I liked it. So I started to look at the combat as a means to get more of the story, and I finished the game. So glad I did. Which is actually was my mentality playing The Witcher 1, because its combat is terrible. Its combat is just click the button. Then 2 seconds later, click the button again, and then when the little thing turns a certain color, click the button again, and you fight. Like, that's basically it. You can choose different swords, a couple different magic things, just
Stances.
like you can in The Witcher
There's
3.
stances too.
There's stances, but I mean, it was very, very basic combat. It was an RPG. It wasn't really an action RPG.
It was old school RPG style combat.
Yeah, but he goes on, the game isn't a perfect 10 for me, and I've gotten a lot of crap for my comments towards the game. But when I have discussions about it, I don't say that it's bad at all. But I think people take it as a personal offense in the gaming world if you don't love The Witcher 3, which I can totally see. I did play it on console, so it might have been not the best platform to experience it on. Let me know if I should replay it on the PC. I recently built my gaming rig with help from the Tech Podcast. Thanks for hearing me out. I hope this reaches you, and thanks for making great content for me to listen to every week, Garrett. Thank you for writing in, Garrett. And I remember, yeah, we helped him with his build not too long ago. What do you think, Dave? I mean, if he doesn't like the combat, and Justin, is it different enough on PC?
Yeah. I would say give it a rest for a little while. Maybe come back and take a look at some possible combat mods, because there's a couple of ones that kind of can help you tweak timing and stuff like that. One that I really enjoy just for cinematic purposes, but also might help with balancing the combat, is the critical slow motions one, which applies a kind of Shadows of Mordor style slow motion effect whenever either you or a bad guy gets a critical hit, like on each other, and it makes the combat like slow down dynamically and helps you like get some of the kind of like really nice looking moves down, because if you can figure out how to time the dodges and stuff, the combat can look really cinematic. And so if you're not worried about making it a little easier, maybe because slow motion is easier to time stuff, that might be a mod you could look into. And there's others too that help with like the difficulty spikes. But I wouldn't jump into it right away. Now, if the combat was a roadblock for you, I don't think it's enough right off the bat to make the leap to PC.
Although 60 FPS, typically if a game feels slow and sluggish and unresponsive, 60 FPS can make a big difference for it, like for some people. So it might be worth trying it if you can play it at 60. But my only other suggestion is if you're getting destroyed by some people at a higher level, try dropping the difficulty all the way down.
Yep.
There's no shame in that. I mean, it's if you're mostly interested in the story, it's a lot of story to get through. So if you're not if the combat's not really doing it for you and it's just keeping you from getting to more story, there's no shame. Drop the difficulty down and enjoy the story.
That's what I was going to suggest is I haven't added any mods to my to mine, and I felt the same way. Like you guys did your podcast on like why everybody should get Witcher, and that was enough to make me get Witcher. And then I was like, oh, I don't like, it's a good game, but the combat is really kind of holding me back. So I just dropped the difficulty and really started enjoying it a lot more when I didn't have to worry about, oh shit, if I run into this guy or that guy, then it's going to be an issue. So once I got that out of the way, I could actually enjoy the game. And if that's a difficulty, if that's maybe it's because I'm getting older, but like beating a game is more important to me and having fun during that than getting stressed out because I can't beat it on normal or can't beat it on hard.
And for me, like I definitely saw the difficulty spikes, the same one that you saw, Justin, the same one that Joel saw. Like I saw them all too. And I don't usually enjoy that in a game, but I was already so into the Witcher universe, I took it as like a personal challenge, and I actually ended up beating the whole game on Blood Broken Bones, which really was just an excuse for me to give Joel a hard time because he dropped the difficulty to the easiest like 7 times. Mr. Dark Souls himself couldn't handle the Witcher spikes, which were bad when they showed up. But I made him watch a video of me beating the toad in
I hate that stupid toad.
I didn't know it was that hard because apparently I got lucky my first time and got all the dodges timed right. So I was like, that was a really fun fight. And then Joel's like, dude, I played it for 2 hours last night before I quit. I haven't beat him yet. And I was like, what? Really? So I loaded up the game to show him, and then I got wrecked a couple times, and I was like, oh.
I did drop the difficulty down on that. I dropped it from hard to normal to beat that one. Like, but so I'll say this about the combat. I really like the combat. Dave, I feel like you really like the combat. We've talked about this before. Yeah. It feels like a dance. It's very different combat. That's one of the things. It's not, I don't think I've ever played a game that has combat quite like it, and I could see why it wouldn't work for some people or for a lot of people. I feel like once you get really good at the combat, it's a ton of fun, and it's a lot more complicated than it looks like on the surface. But that's the same way of saying like Dark Souls 3 or Dark Souls, all you gotta do is start getting your blocks timed perfectly right and getting your backstab and getting your, or the feint or whatever it does. Like, I get that. Like, I can understand that people say that, but I don't get any of that in Dark Souls. Like, I don't enjoy that part of it. So I can totally understand someone saying the same thing about The Witcher. It makes sense. But apparently we've talked about vaping too much in the podcast, because get ready for 3 vape-related emails.
Oh,
First one's from our good friend, Quantum of Infinity. Hi again. I have a feeling like we need to change on this podcast. This change is much needed and inevitable. It's been in my head for a long time, but today I feel like this cause needs some light. Yeah, vaping seems to be a topic on every podcast now. Just imagine Jeremiah saying this. Welcome to the Casual Shenanigans Vaping Podcast, a podcast all about an irreverent love of vaping. It fits so well. It seems like a natural change. Every time when I listen to this podcast, I just feel like your next episode title should be Casual 420 or something. Just imagine the video feed. All host screens are basically filled with white smoke. A new era of the Casual Shenanigans Vaping Podcast has begun. Okay, I'm sorry. Please forgive me, Joel. I swear I hate vaping too. Every time you mention vape, a part of Joel dies. Together, we can stop this.
I'm going to read that to Joel at work tomorrow and make him look me in the eye as I read it.
And then Jonathan wrote into casualshenanigans@gmail.com, just like you can, to be a part of the show, and says, apparently we mentioned something about doing a vape giveaway in a recent episode as a joke. And he said, hey guys, I work in the vaping industry at a lab, and I usually play the podcast for my coworkers. I heard about the giveaway with vaping. Be careful. FDA rules make giving away tobacco products for free illegal. Just warning you, would hate to see legal crap come down on you for anything. Also, if you have questions, feel free to ask. Take care, John. Thank you, John, because while that was a joking suggestion, none of us knew that, and probably wouldn't have thought to look that up. So
that makes me wonder, like, what would win out? Joel's randomness of wanting to do something as crazy as giving away a vape, which he hates, or the hurt it would cause his soul to actually pay money for a vaping device. Like, I don't know what would actually win out there, so thank you for the warning, because he might have done it.
Well, thank you, John, for letting us know. And then Lock Gamer wrote in and has a little bit of a fan fiction relating to some time he spent in The Witcher 3. And there is a picture I'm going to put on screen at the end of this email.
Ready for this?
Hey guys. So I decided a few weeks ago that I was going to go back to finish all of Velen's side quests. So today, after listening to the Casual Shenanigan intros on my drive home, I decided to finish all the bandit camps in Velen. At my last one, I'd saved this peasant, let's say his name is Joel, from a cage after slaughtering his Nilfgaardian jailers. Joel proceeds to tell me that he has been taken of all of his possessions and that I was to meet him back at his home in Mulberrydale. I immediately went to Mulberrydale to find him in the same dirty clothing outside working away on his anvil. When I spoke with Joel, he told me that he had just got back and was gracious that I saved him. Joel quickly offered me a game of Gwent, and I couldn't resist. As I played Joel, I began to wonder how he even had a deck of cards. The Nilfgaardians pillaged Mulberrydale only hours back, and I had also looted all the recent Nilfgaardian corpses. It was on one of them where I'd found the key to his cage. Wouldn't they have had Joel's Gwent cards too? I came to the conclusion that Joel must be seriously addicted to Gwent. All I know is when he reluctantly offered me a card after I kicked his malnourished ass, I refused politely to his delight. As I began to leave, I blew my last cloud of vapor at the only surviving poster that remained on the notice board after the Nilfgaardian raid. I almost failed to notice that the vapor cloud was strong enough to pull the poster off its staple. My eyes had rolled back just before seeing the name Norman scribbled largely across the top. This was due to the intoxicating aroma of Germ Cena's Cinnamintastic 7 award-winning e-juice.
Oh, I don't like this fanfiction anymore.
I perched,
I don't like it. I want out.
In stupor atop my steed as Roach's heavy steps had been naturally exaggerated through my posture's rise and fall. Joel slowly regains his composure, easing the grip on the card he'd almost lost. Finally relaxing his brow, he takes a low, deep breath and resumes the mundane work of low-quality armor craftsmanship. And the picture he sent is him beating Joel the peasant 77-3. And his caption says, "This win felt so good. Poor Joel, I'd win either way." Thank you for writing in, Locke.
I think I have to share just a brief story that happened Friday because Joel's not here to defend himself. I was wiped out Friday night, so I wanted some Witcherness, some Gwent. We've been playing on PS4, some Rocket League. Joel decided to play some Witcher. I was like, you know what? I'll watch you stream it for a few minutes. I watched him play like an hour and a half of Witcher because I was too lazy to play it myself. I was too wiped out. But I made him go around playing Gwent because Joel and I play in real life constantly. I made him go around in-game playing Gwent because he was always talking about, oh, dude, in-game Gwent is just so easy now that we play so much. Like, it's just nothing. I'm like, no, Joel, like, they'll get lucky wins occasionally, and some of them are pretty hard. It's like, no, dude, like, I must be better than you at the in-game Gwent. It's just so much easier. So I took him around to a couple of the peasants and, like, innkeepers I knew were really difficult players who destroyed him most of the time, which made me very happy. But then I sent him to one village to play an innkeeper that I knew had, like, a really good Gwent deck. He went to the wrong person and went to this, like mentally challenged like butcher shop where the guy, his only dialogue is like, oh, he's got this like bowl cut going on. And I was like, Joel, this is the wrong person. Like this is an easy, it's an easy player. It's like, oh, I'll play him anyway. I'm here. Guy destroyed him. Joel blushed. Like he was so embarrassed. Like, oh, I can't believe you saw me lose to this guy. Because after the game, the guy's just like, I was like, Joel, you got beaten by like the slow butcher with the crappy weird bowl cut. It's like, I know, you saw it. It made me very happy though.
It's now time for comment of the week, but I need to find an email.
Man,
they've edited their comment. So I've got to find the email in my inbox.
Oh, losers. Boo.
No, it's all right. 1 second. It was this morning. All right. You left the comment then, so I'm looking for it now. 1 second. Dave, vamp for a minute.
Well, Dave, if you don't have anything to vamp with, I will say that the Mulberrydale character that he had mentioned in his writing, that Locke Gamer had mentioned in his writing, is actually, that's one of the known issues with the Gwent. I was trying to get the whole Gwent deck. Dave, you and I had talked about it a couple of times. And he was one that had disappeared on me, where you would go and release him, but he would never show up at his armor shop.
Oh,
so
yeah, that's right.
He didn't exist for me. But I came to find out that he was just one of, I could play multiple people, and I ended up finding all the Gwent cards that I needed. But he is one of those that, it's funny that he brought it out, because I was like, Mulberrydale, I know that name, because that was the son of a bitch that I was trying to find.
To answer a question in chat about the Witcher combat, I actually really prefer mouse and keyboard for Witcher combat. It doesn't look as cinematic because obviously, WASD is going to be clunkier for the movement, but what I found is it makes me a lot more responsive. I tend to flick the camera around a lot, especially when fighting mobs. So I'll do like a block, see somebody, coming out for a sword attack from behind me, and in Witcher, multiple people can hit you at the same time. Like, it's not like Assassin's Creed where, at least they usually in Witcher won't like line up and take turns. So I can like block from the front, flick my mouse, spin the camera like 120 degrees, and then do the dodge. And then Geralt dodges in like a completely different angle from where I just blocked from. Person misses their swing, and now I'm facing their side. And occasionally I'll do dumb stuff with the camera flicking where like I'll go to do a cool spin the camera and then backstab and like I'll stab a tree instead because I spun too far. But for most of the time for me, the mouse makes the combat feel so much more responsive. And if you get good at flicking the camera back and forth to do the different side stabs, blocks, back stabs, side pirouettes or whatever to spin away and then back like to a different attack, you can make the combat look so fluid. And I've had like mob fights against bandits that are at the same level as me where I never took damage, and it was like a 2 or 3 minute fight where it was block, spin, pirouette, however you say that word, and like you can make it look really good. This is why I prefer the mouse and keyboard and the alternate movement too. Found it yet?
Yes.
Okay.
It's now time for Comment of the Week. Part of the podcast where we just, just go dig into the old inbox or the old YouTube comment section and dig out a gem. So I put up a video today talking about potential ways of monetizing my personal channel in the future. And as we normally do, Dave came to leave a mean comment on my channel, which is par for the course, to be expected.
Because I'm a child.
Because, side note, I've been going on some of Shane's old videos and commenting, what game is this, every once in a while. And I did get some the other day. I did on an XCOM video. He just replied with, "Are you joking?" But anyway, Dave wrote, "Too bad you're just in it for the money, unsubscribing and quitting the podcast and not clicking the like button because it really helps you out." And then someone replied almost immediately to him, "Lol, you're a dumbass. He wants to make more money to buy more stuff to make more content, but please leave. I'm sure he won't miss you." And then a whole bunch of people were like, "Dude, he's joking." And someone said, "He's literally someone on the podcast." And then the person edited their comment, so they saw that it was wrong, which is okay. I'm not making fun of that person. They didn't know, but
I'm making fun of them a little bit. Like,
it's funny.
I mean, it was a bit of a lame joke because you have to be familiar with the podcast to understand that I'm actually someone who's on the podcast. But the comment
You're one of
was,
the main hosts, I think, right?
yeah,
yeah. And like the comment was pretty sarcastic too. Like, I'm not going to hit the like button. Like, yeah.
and actually,
really,
somebody did say something to that effect. Wait, let me find.
oh yeah. I
Not
got
clicking the like button. Let's not get radical, shall we? Yeah. Well, I mean,
Good
because not
times.
everybody on my channel watches the podcast. Obviously, I have a playlist on there, but they don't get uploaded or anything. So
Yeah.
I mean, it was funny, as is usual. You never know what type of comments you're going to get on something. Although I was very impressed. I got like only extremely positive feedback on that video.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I've only gotten positive feedback on something. Guys, no one told me to kill myself today. Nobody.
Life of the internet.
I feel so affirmed. Okay. Thank you guys. Thank you to everybody for coming out. It has been an awesome show. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope you enjoyed our No Man's Sky review. But if you want to be a part of the show, you can always write it.
Honestly, you guys did a great job discussing the game. I think. I mean, there was a lot of different opinions going on, but you guys really covered all the bases and had a really gentlemanly discussion. The screaming was a little awkward right in the center, but you guys regained control and got a handle on things pretty quick. So good work, guys.
Well, Dave,
Thanks.
want to take everyone through the rigmarole?
Yeah. You guys can find us on Twitter at casualshenanigans. You can see our website at casualshenanigans.com, where you can download the game that Joel made about all of us, which I have now started playing. You can find my YouTube channel at youtube.com/evilviking13. You can go tell Jeremiah to kill himself on his channel at youtube.com/germgaming. Tell him that you
Join
love him.
in, bring a torch.
And we also have a Facebook page where we're dropping occasionally some like behind the scenes stuff from working on these Casual Shenanigans originals, Arma Mission, stuff like that. You can find us if you search for Casual Shenanigans on Facebook.
Nice. Well, thank you everybody for coming out. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for smashing that like button to pieces, because it sure helps us out. And until next time, stay casual.